I've done some digging online and I've pulled together a number of models which I think could be due for an update, as well as some bikes which personally I would just love to see hit the market. Now, before we go any further, you may have noticed that my face is looking a little bit funny, and that's because I was in a fight, not with a person, but with a wasp. I was out riding and it stung me on my face, not ideal. So if you can excuse the swelling, then let's jump into the video. We'll start with a bike which, to my mind, has to be a bit of a no-brainer, and that's because I kind of expected it to actually come this year. In March, we saw the launch of the new Cannondale Super 6, the brand's do-it-all road race bike. At the same time, it also launched the Lab 71 moniker, which stands to be the brand's top-of-the-range bikes, utilising a higher grade of carbon fibre. After the Super 6 was launched, it also released a gravel-going Lab 71 Topstone. Clearly, it's fairly easy to put the new carbon fibre into existing moulds, so a Lab 71 SystemSix should be on the cards. However, the SystemSix in its current guise is a bike that has been around for quite a while. In fact, it's been around since 2018, so it's well overdue an update. The change in UCI rules mean Cannondale could potentially have something really wacky in the works. Perhaps the brand will lean into the elongated head tube like the specialised SL8, or it may just leave the SystemSix behind altogether. It's not out of the question that the brand could just let the SystemSix fade away and halt production of the model. The lack of an aero bike could then be countered by making the next generation of the Super 6 even more aero and take on more of a specialised SL8 design ethos, with more aero features at the front and more lightweight features at the rear. One bike I'm very confident will be coming next year is an update to the Caad14, and logic dictates that it be called the Caad14. This is a bike that I am really excited about. I've not hidden the fact that I love a premium aluminium frame. I love how they feel to ride, and the fact that with the right specification, they are just as light as their carbon counterparts, but for a fraction of the cost. My hope for the Caad14 is that Cannondale do something similar to Trek, who revamped its Emonda ALR by giving it a slightly more aggressive frame geometry, stripping out a load of weight from the frame, and also really refining the tube shapes. It also maintained a classic looking frame shape with no drop seat stays, which from an aesthetic point of view, I really enjoy. I'd love for Cannondale to go back to a classic looking frame, much like the Caad12, and also work on making the frame a lot lighter, ideally around the 1,000 gram mark. My second hope for a potential Caad14 is that the brand also releases a Lab 71 model of the bike. Now, in my mind, it would have the Lab 71 paint job, the Momo designed bars with the top-end RSL wheels, with the same fork as found on the Lab 71 Super 6, a Dura-Race group set, and of course, a ceramic speed bottom bracket. Would it be overkill? Absolutely. Would it make much sense? Not really, but would I absolutely want it and be prepared to pay for it? 100%. Quite frankly, it would be one of the coolest bikes out there. So if anyone from Cannondale is watching, please make it happen. Quite recently, Giant updated its endurance bike, the Defy. It made the bike a whole lot lighter, made it slightly more performance orientated, and supposedly made it more comfortable. What struck me most was the former though, that big reduction in weight. It demonstrated what Giant is capable of when it sets its sights on making something light. To bring a Defy frame weight in at a claimed 785 grams really shows just how light a new TCR could be. It's highly likely that a potential new TCR could come in at the low 600 gram region. The weight saving could also go further than just the frame. With the brand's own components and Cadex wheels, it has the ability to strip out weight from every part of the bike. And full builds could be landing in the region of the low to mid 6 kilos. The current top-end TCR comes in at a claimed 6.7 kilos, so seeing this drop by a few hundred grams is certainly a possibility. One question looms though, that being, would it really make any difference? Probably not. Having a reliable and versatile bike is certainly more valuable, but if Giant were able to combine all of these attributes, then that would be a pretty exciting proposition. After Trek launched the new Madone back in 2022, it's safe to say that it turned a lot of heads with the ISOFlow hole in the seat tube. Now though, I think most riders are pretty well accustomed to the look of it, and I believe it's been pretty well accepted into cycling design. ISOFlow to one side, the Madone itself is a wicked bike to ride. It's incredibly fast, and we love the care and attention that Trek put into the bike as a whole to keep the rider going as quickly as possible. And it's for these reasons that I'm getting pretty excited about a potential new Emonda. As the Emonda sits in Trek's range as a do-it-all climbing race bike, I do not think it would be out of the question to see an Emonda also get an ISOFlow hole. It would aid in the bike's aero performance, and since Trek also claimed that it helps save weight, then that very much matches the Emonda's ethos. I see the new Emonda as potentially becoming a baby Madone. A bike which perhaps has a slightly less aggressive position, but is still race orientated. Naturally, it would be lighter and would perhaps try to get close to the Specialized SL8 in terms of weight. Since the Madone does require a decent level of flexibility and skill to deal with a fast steering feel, a slightly softer version of the bike in the form of an Emonda could be the perfect road race bike for a much larger segment of the market. Pinarello has been mighty active in the past year with its launch of two brand new ranges of bikes, that being the X Series and the F Series, which replaced the Prince and the Paris respectively. We also saw the new Dogma X quite recently, which now sits as the top of the range model in the X Series range. However, the brand's flagship race bike, the range-topping Dogma F, was last updated in 2021, so perhaps we could have a 2025 bike launched next year. I'm not sure what Pinarello would aim to do with the bike. It would likely be a very iterative update rather than being something drastically new. So I'd expect to see these updates along the lines of a bike being slightly lighter, stiffer, and more aero, as per usual. Launched back in 2020 was the Cervelo Caledonia, the brand's road-going endurance/all-road bike. It's a category of bike that has really hotted up in the past few months, since Canyon's Endurace and Specialized Roubaix have also taken to the same space. Cervelo, though, does have the opportunity to bring an updated version of the bike to the market that really rivals that of the market leaders. We gave the bike 4.5 stars when we reviewed it, with our only qualm being tied up in the price compared to competitors. So, if Cervelo can come in alongside the other options on the market, it could land as a fantastic option for the customers. I'm guessing Cervelo would likely increase tyre clearance from the current 34mm and perhaps build in a greater amount of frame storage. But in terms of rideability and current geometry, we are already big fans of what it's created. Sticking with Cervelo for one more bike, and the R5 is also potentially coming to the end of its product cycle. The R5 does sit along the S5, so you either have your climbing bike or your aero bike, and the brand has previously said that it doesn't want to dilute either of them. The R5 is already pretty light, as the frame comes in at a claimed 700 grams, which is very good, so perhaps if it were to be updated, we may only see a marginal improvement in the weight. However, refining the frame shape to potentially become a little bit more aerodynamic without stepping on the toes of the S5 could net a greater improvement while also making it a little bit stiffer. Again, I think that this would be an iterative update, but it will be a very exciting one when it's underneath Team Jumbo-Visma. Last on my list is the Scott Addict. Scott launched the incredibly aerodynamic foil less than 18 months ago, and so it's clear that the brand has no intention of creating a do-it-all road race bike, which means we could be in for yet another stripped-back specialist climbing bike. I've always thought that the Addict looked great, and previous generations of the bike have been a pleasure to ride as well. So, if the current model were to be replaced with something that's even lighter and stiffer than before, then, in my eyes, that is only a recipe for success. So there we have it. This year turned out to be the year of the new endurance bike, and perhaps next year could be the year of the super lightweight climbing bike. Let me know down below, which bike are you most excited for to come next year? If you enjoyed the video, then please do drop it a like, subscribe to the channel for more content, and I will see you again very soon.